Hello, Digital Africa. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share with you what we are working on at Zunga. My name is Stephen Chijoma, the founder, and I will also be the one presenting to you. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So Zunga, in summary, is a cross-border regional bus travel and transportation service. And to emphasize cross-border, we want to deal with the buses that are connecting cities between countries within East Africa. So our major drive for doing this is to apply the necessary conveniences that are still lacking in this domain. And our initial coverage is Rwanda and Ugandan transportation routes. And then eventually we should spread out to the whole of East Africa. So we've been in operation since May 2024. And at this point, we are 16 months old. And we are based in North House, Kigali in Rwanda. So let me go ahead and paint a picture of the current state of affairs in this domain. First, to deal with the bus operations, there are bus operator companies. We do not own them. And there's quite a number within the Rwanda and the Ugandan transportation route and eventually East Africa. Basically, their nature of operation, they have offices, or you can call them also ticket outlets that are also normally stationed within the bus stations. So in the case of Rwanda, you could find the bus station aggregates all the different bus operators. But then also in the cases like Uganda, you could find proprietary bus stations whereby each bus operator has their own bus station. And so in there, they carry out a number of activities in the background that also enable them to provide the service. And these obviously might include ticket sales. And besides that, they could also do trip scheduling. They could do asset management, like in the case of fleet. They could do customer service and things like that. So what we would like to point out in this aspect, most of these activities are menial or quite repetitive in nature. And going on a trip listings. So if I want to know what trips are available as a traveler, best thing to do if I want to do it conveniently, I would better have a number of a staff of one of these companies. I call them to find out. Sometimes I know how the process works, but then I want to be sure what trips are available. At what time, it's not always standardized. Sometimes they vary based on the demand. And then they can tell me, and then I make a choice. So that is how I find out. And then if I want to buy, typically I should go down because these tickets are print, they are paper in nature. And so for me to have one, it would require me to go down to that bus station. Other than that, I can maybe make a phone call to them and tell them to do a reservation, at which point I will have to go and make a payment in the office or figure out some other way of doing it. And then the payments, they are also typically made in cash. You can improvise around the system with a mobile payment, but then it's not like it is how they do it officially. So yeah, they normally take cash, and sometimes you have to also do withdrawals to make it possible. And now I have a booking. So a number of things can happen in the process before I take the journey. It could be delays for some reason. It was a connecting trip, and the bus we were waiting for has delayed somewhere by an hour or two, or it could be a breakdown. So things like that, they can do a phone call to you, but also they've done SMS messages at some point. So let me say I'm a first-time traveler. I don't know my way around. I'm new in these countries, or maybe I've never gone to any neighboring country. Better I ask around. It's the first thing to do because you don't know where to go and things like that. So you better ask around, like someone always knows in your circle, and then they'll tell you exactly where those buses are. And then you can go there by yourself. They can give you a phone number. Sometimes there is a small section of people that, they are like online sort of savvy. They might go and look for a few blogs around, but again, it could be something written like 5 or 10 years ago and something like that. And so having seen that state, what is wrong? Like, what are the inherent problems? First of all, for the travelers section, we believe that making bookings and inquiries can be time consuming in the case of taking time out of your busy schedule to go down to the bus station. It could be an hour or less, depending on which city you're in East Africa. And then, as you can see, that can be time consuming and also costly in terms of the transportation charges. And also in the case where you have to maybe do the payments in cash. So moving on to the cash payment, again, they are limiting because I could be having a number of wallets on my phone. It could be my mobile banking, it could be mobile money. And that's limiting if I have to withdraw the money first and then make the transaction in cash. And then for the travel information not being readily available to the travelers, we believe that also makes their planning harder because before I embark on a journey, I want to know how much money I should spend. Basically, it's a budget, but also I also need to know how much time I have. So things like how long does this journey take? What are they doing exactly in between? Where are they going to stop for how long and all that kind of information. And then about the status communication, again, you are not sure whether you get a communication. There are reasons for that. They can tell you we used to use SMS, but then they turned out costly for our operations and we abandoned them. So I myself have had a scenario where I was called, but then just imagine a bus delaying and the operator knows the problem ahead of time, but then it doesn't seem practical for them to pick up a phone and call 50 plus passengers. And so they will just leave it there. And when you arrive at the bus station, you realize, okay, the bus delayed and you have to wait. For how long, it could be a guess. And this has also happened to me. So yeah. So if you go now to the management and cancellations, it can be difficult. I want you to maybe think of a scenario where I did a booking or it was a reservation because I wasn't sure when I would be traveling. So I am not sure, but at some point I might need to cancel, or maybe I could have paid for the ticket, but then I have to cancel my trip as well. And I need someone like to sort of pick up this ticket, but then I have it in paper and I am away from the bus station. So how do I get to dissolve that in cash? How do I get to make reservations that are timed? So there's a lot of guesswork and inconveniences in there. And then on the operator side, obviously they do a bunch of tasks, as we mentioned earlier, that include sales, marketing and all these things, and they cannot work with their utmost efficiency and also get the best of their out of their resources because of that. And again, dispatching strip status information, again, it's also a costly and hectic process. Now, on the authority side, they deal with enforcement and compliance. They want the operators to be compliant. That is, declare the list of passengers that are on board whenever they are crossing the border. I'm referring to the immigrations authorities. And then, a scenario could be like passengers are on board, or maybe they are boarding, and I need to record each and every one as they come. So right now it's a task that involves taking each and everyone's passport and then teasing out the details into the columns. It could be like 8 columns or something, and for each and every passenger, the queues and then the pressures for the bus to be on time. So they might end up like telling me, okay, you all go inside, and then we are going to come as the bus is moving, and we collect passports from each one, and then yeah, it's a process more like that. And so as you can imagine, sometimes you find mistakes and then there are penalties and things like that. So the travelers again may not know exactly what they need. So these things might include like yellow fever cards, even basic documentations like national identification or IDs. So we can have outbreaks, for instance, and then you just go there and surprise, we need a yellow fever card or this kind of vaccination, and you didn't come with it. They don't always ask for it, but then you want to know, like for every trip, exactly what they want. So then, so what is our response to that? We are proposing an e-booking system for the traveler. That's the front-facing app. And this one can do the listing, the planning, the booking management, and also travelers can buy tickets on there. And then we are also proposing for the operators a bus transportation sort of a resource planning or customer relations management tool, though not in the sense of strictly being enterprise, but sort of tailored to the most pressing needs that they have in the operation. And so what value does that have for either customer segment? One is transparency, like they get to know clearly like who is offering what in terms of the service providers, and then they get to choose based on their preferences. The planning for their journey is also easier because they have information about the details of the journey and the prices. It's fast because they don't have to go anywhere. There are also no queues. They can use any payments they have in their possession, the most convenient one for them. It could be mobile money, cards, or whatever it is. And then we also want to keep them organized in the sense that you know what you need for each and every trip, even if it means a country you've never been to. And then they also get that flexibility of being the ones in charge of their reservations. They can make changes to it at any point they wish, and also even cancel if they like. And then they should also be capable of dissolving their tickets into cash if at some point someone else needs it. Then they get reliable updates for any occurrences that might affect their trip, including also the expected ones like reminders. So again, they get to review the service providers, they give feedback, and then it also allows them to make a clear choice of who the better provider is over time. Then for the operators, we add efficiency to their operations, we reduce costs and time they take to execute. For instance, it could be sales. They don't have to now do all these printing and then maybe take a travel document, read out the details and things like that. Customer service. So it's all inbuilt in the service. In addition, we provide an additional sales channel to them, so they have a bigger reach to the customers. They can also do marketing on their. They could be having campaigns, or maybe they're announcing good stuff, maybe new buses in the fleet, things which could add excitement to their customers. And we have the customers now within our reach, direct reach. So it's not like a case of, for instance, doing digital marketing on a social media platform that maybe people may not really pay attention to. And then they also get to do data-driven decisions. They have a dashboard available to them where they can do analytics and tease out their trends of interest, KPIs. It could help like with, again, dynamic pricing, because again, from what you're hearing, there's some guesswork in there. For instance, how can I reliably know what to price for the return bus that is in Nairobi or Kampala that left Kigali? And so sometimes they slightly lose if they underprice, or they can also overcharge if they overprice. And moving on to better service delivery, they are also now in a better position to improve the service, because now they hear direct via the customer service and the feedback channel from what the customers exactly are saying. And then easy compliance for them, because again, the operations are made easier. This one in particular, passenger manifest declarations. And so why do we perceive now as the best opportunity? First of all, the advancement of the East African Federation. There is increased economic activity between the member states, which is giving the nationals more liberty and also reason to go across the borders for whichever case, visiting or even doing business. And again, like I mentioned, the push for compliance, this again puts them under pressure because it increases on the impact of their operations. And so it's an opportunity for us to kind of handle these problems for them, thereby allowing them to submit clean and complete manifests. And again, the convergence, there is obviously a trend. Fintechs are becoming a thing. And even now, it's easy now to find someone, for instance, with a mobile money wallet, regardless of what type of phone they have. And if they have a smartphone, then even more so, that's even better. And now when you add things like QR code scanning, which is also becoming more and more prevalent, we can build an integrated solution that sort of fits the things they are getting used to, and also the consumer behaviors that they are also getting accustomed to thanks to mobile banking, e-commerce, and all these kinds of trends. So having said that, what's the market potential for this project? We have counted 8 cross-border bus operators in East Africa. But in Rwanda, the ones that serve the Rwandan and the Ghanaian markets alone, there is 5. So 2 of them offer 3 trips per day. One offers 2 trips per day, and then the other 2 offer 1 trip each per day, which makes 10 per day. And these are one-way trips, giving about 500 travelers a day, which is also on average like a bus of 50 passengers. per day. So it's like 10 buses, 50 passengers for a one-way trip. And then moving on to the product. So with the aid of these visuals, you can see that there is a passenger, there's a form where the passenger can fill in their trip details. That is the departure, destination, the date. And that's pretty much it. When they punch in those details, they get a list from the different providers. So these are meant to be, it's meant to be an aggregation of what is available from all the providers on the desired date they want. And once they choose a particular one, they can go ahead and complete their order by filling in the passenger information. They reserve a seat, they select a payment method, they check out, and then they get a booking confirmation via email. It's possible to add other channels for confirming the booking, but then we'll figure out the best suitable ones for the start, and eventually also do maybe whatever is necessary for the different customer requirements. So what is the competition we are having? There is an online booking service. It's also a startup. It's called Bopas. They are based in Kenya. They list buses, trains, and flights. And they have around 50,000 downloads on Play Store, on Google Play Store. And aside from that, we have the non-tech enabled providers. These are like the metropolitan bus providers, motorbike taxis, ride hailing, and all that. So again, this is important because a critical factor of our services are convenience. And in order for us to know how much they are willing to pay for that convenience, we need to know the alternative of what they are currently using to get to the bus station and back. And the business revenue model. So right now, we are proposing a 15% service fee or charge, meaning 15% of the ticket price. So the current ticket price is 25,000, for instance, for a one-way trip, Kigali to Kampala. And it's roughly the same. Like if you're doing a round trip, like it's 25 and roughly the same in Kampala when you're coming back. So given 500 travelers a day, at that price of 25K ticket, 15% would give us 1.8 million in daily revenue estimates and 56 million monthly. And this is just for a one-way trip. So you can double that if you want a round trip, which is now like 112 million monthly. And what's the current status of our project or our product? We've done a market research, we've done a product design for the mobile and the web options. And then we've also done a system design for the software, and then we've also implemented an MVP, which is at this point in internal test, or you can call it alpha. And simultaneously, what we are also working on is market or customer validation. So again, this basically means right now talking to the bus operators, and our goal in that is to secure an early evangelist or early adopter customer who can come on board and help us model the operations, which are typically the same for all the others. But if we can manage to secure one or even more, that would be good. But yeah, that's what we are engaged with at the moment. And after that, we'll do a go-to-market activities, and then embark on a back office system development. So this again is a bit in reverse, but we feel like it's a bit, it's sort of to optimize the journey, because ideally we would do the back office before I go to market activities, but then we are keen on getting feedback from the customers, the travelers as soon as possible. So if we get an early evangelist bus operator, we just try to model simply a few aspects, which are like sales, ticket sales, customer service, and bookings management. And we are good to go. So we go to the customers and validate. We do sales and a few other things like marketing. And as we are doing that, we are in their hands. They have us in their hands. We go ahead and do a back office system development, which now means a fully fledged system that has all the bells and whistles for the operators. So what are we seeking funding for? So right now, at this point, we want to validate. So we have a lot of hypotheses about the travelers, the operators, and the immigration authorities. So for the travelers, we want to know whether they care about the problem enough to spend on it exactly what we think they should. Again, you're open to adjustments if it turns out that they can't. And then we also want to understand their limitations. For instance, it could be having internet on their phones or even having smartphones. And then if that's the case, then what can we do as an alternative? Same for the bus operators. We want to know how much they care about the system to adopt it and what cost are they willing to chip in if they want to also be like paying customers. Same for the immigration authorities. There is a slight opportunity for more monetization there, but for now, primarily, we just want to get their backing and speed up the adoption of the service. And then going on a product implementation side, priority, we want to add features based on the feedback we have gotten from the travelers. And then this is more so to do with payment integration and the onboarding process. Seat reservation can come after. Yeah, but for now, we just want to get transactions through the system. And then after all that is done smoothly, then you can go and embark on a fully fledged bus operations system. So what is our team comprised? It is only me at the moment. I'm pretty much doing everything, and we hope that can change in the near future. So what I bring to the table, I'm a mobile applications and software developer. And then I am passionate about delivering delightful customer experiences. And at this point, I'm executing on customer development, product design, and implementation. And also what I also think is important, I am to some degree an expert client because I deal with this problem. And it's been a long time since I've done it. And so about our company, Granite Tech Ventures, we are a software development services company. We are registered in Rwanda since March 2024. And we are building Zunga as a flagship product since May 2024. And we are based at the Northern House, Kigali. So thank you again for this opportunity. And I would like to hear from you and learn as much as I can. Thank you.